A tumultuous day for this Chinese influencer who's leaving Taiwan for China after the government revoked her residency permit over controversial videos she posted on social media.
Have you ever wondered if freedom of speech is truly a universal value, or is it something we only defend when it aligns with our political interests? Hello everyone, it's your favorite half Chinese here, and today I want to discuss a recent case that highlights a troubling contradiction in how Western countries approach freedom of speech when it comes to China and its province, Taiwan. Please like, share, follow, and also follow my YouTube so I can liberate you. In March 2025, Taiwan's National Immigration Agency revoked the residence permits of 3 Chinese people who were married to Chinese Taiwanese citizens. Their alleged crimes: expressing pro-Beijing views and supposedly advocating for China's reunification with Taiwan. This decision has separated families and raised serious questions about freedom of expression that deserves our attention. While Western countries routinely criticize China for restricting freedom of speech, there has been a deafening silence about Taiwan's actions. This apparent double standard forces us to ask, for whom do we actually want freedom of speech in China? And why don't we apply the same principle consistently? Let's look at what actually happened. Taiwan's immigration authorities revoked residence permits of 3 Chinese nationals, including one known online as Yaya in Taiwan. Go and follow her on YouTube. According to the Focus Taiwan news report, these individuals had posted content on social media that Taiwan's government interpreted as advocating for unification by force. Yaya in Taiwan, whose real surname is Liu, had relocated to Taiwan after marrying a Chinese from Taiwan. At the time of her controversial post, she had only around 600-700 followers, hardly what most would consider a major influence with significant reach. That is so much less than me on YouTube, but please also follow me on YouTube so I can have a couple of more. What's particularly concerning is that after watching Yaya's videos myself, I can confirm that she was not actually advocating for forceful reunification as claimed by Taiwanese authorities. She was merely explaining the current political situation and providing analysis of cross-strait relations. This crucial fact makes Taiwan actions even more troubling from a freedom of speech perspective. Especially if we suppress speech from opposing views, we at the same time undermine democracy. The BBC mentions that Liu referred to Taiwan as Taiwan province. However, it's very important to understand that this terminology actually aligns with Taiwan's own constitutional framework. And according to its constitution, Taiwan is technically a province within China. This is not merely Beijing's position, but it's reflected in Taiwan's own constitutional structure. Furthermore, it's crucial to note that the vast majority of countries around the world, 119 countries or 62 UN member states, endorse the One China principle and affirm China's sovereignty over Taiwan. This includes major Western democracies like the United Kingdom, where the BBC is based, the United States, Japan, and the Netherlands. In fact, only 12 countries plus the Vatican officially recognize Taiwan as an independent nation, with sovereignty over the entirety of China. So when Yaya referred to Taiwan as a province, she was using terminology that aligns not only with mainland China's position but also with Taiwan's own constitutional framework, and the official position of most countries worldwide. She was stating facts that are internationally recognized, not promoting controversial or extremist views. When criticized, Liu defended herself by saying she was trying to promote the good on both sides and eliminate the chasm between people. She insisted she was just analyzing objectively and sharing her own views. Based on my review of her content, this defense appears accurate. She was providing analysis, not advocating for forceful action. The other two Chinese people made similar statements. Taiwan's interior minister defended the deportation by stating that freedom of speech was not an excuse to call for the invasion of Taiwan. But if Yaya was simply explaining political realities rather than advocating for invasion and using terminology that aligns with international consensus and Taiwan's own constitutional framework, this justification becomes highly questionable. What makes this case particularly troubling is that these individuals are not just being forced to leave Taiwan, they are being separated from their families.
With Yaya's departure, she will not be able to apply for another permit to live in Taiwan for 5 years, unless a court rules in favor of her appeal against the government's decision, which is still pending. It's also unclear how this will affect her family, her husband and 3 children still in Taiwan.
According to local news reports, Liu and another Chinese person each have 3 children. They are now barred from reapplying for family-based residence permits for the next 5 years. Western countries and media outlets frequently criticize China for its restrictions on freedom of speech. We hear constant condemnation of China's censorship of dissidents, control of social media platforms, and punishments of those who speak against the government. Yet, when Taiwan takes action to punish speech it deems threatening, even when that speech is merely explaining political situations rather than advocating for them, and even when that speech aligns with internationally recognized position, the response from these same Western voices is remarkably different. There's little outcry about the violation of free speech principles, little concern about the proportionality of the punishment, and little question of whether expressing a political opinion or analysis should result in family separation. This raises a profound question: for whom do Western countries actually want freedom of speech in China? It appears that they want freedom of speech for those who oppose the Chinese government, but not for Chinese citizens who express views that could be interpreted as pro-unification, even when those views are presented as analysis rather than advocacy and align with internationally recognized positions. Both China and Taiwan justify restrictions on speech by citing national security concerns. The justifications are structurally similar, yet Western reactions to these justifications differ dramatically based on political alignment. Is explaining political situations and territorial disputes truly equivalent to threatening national security? If we accept this premise from Taiwan, how can we consistently reject the same premise when it comes from mainland China? Beyond the philosophical contradictions, there is a very real human cost to Taiwan's decisions. Families are being torn apart based on political speech and analysis. Children are being separated from their parents because of opinions expressed on social media. What we are witnessing here is a clear case of systematic discrimination and racism. These Chinese people are being targeted specifically because of their ethnicity and their perceived political views. This type of discrimination goes against the core values that democratic societies claim to uphold. Values like equality, fairness, and respect for human dignity. When we allow such discrimination to go unchallenged, we undermine the very foundations of the democratic principles we claim to defend. Consider Yaya's case. With only around 600-700 followers on YouTube at the time of her controversial post, her actual influence was minimal. Yet the punishment is severe: deportation and a 5-year ban on returning to life with her family. Is this proportionate? Would we accept such a punishment for political analysis in other contexts? Or is it treatment reserved specifically for Chinese nationals? There's also an important distinction between speech and action. None of these Chinese people were accused of taking any actions to undermine Taiwan's security beyond expressing their opinions or explaining political situations. They didn't engage in espionage, sabotage, or violence. In Yaya's case, she was simply providing analysis of cross-strait relations from a perspective that happens to align with Beijing's positions, Taiwan's own constitutional framework, and the official position of most countries worldwide. If we accept that explaining political situations regarding territorial disputes justifies deportation and family separation, what precedent does this set? And why does this harsh treatment seem to apply primarily to people of Chinese ethnicity from the mainland? I'd like you to consider 3 questions as you reflect on the situations. First, if you support freedom of speech as a universal value, should it apply to all political viewpoints and analysis, even those you disagree with or find threatening? Is freedom of speech meaningful if it only protects popular or non-controversial opinions? Second, would you consider it acceptable for your own country to deport residents for explaining political views about territorial disputes? If your neighbor expressed views about your country's borders or sovereignty that differed from the official position, would you support their deportation and separation from their family? Third, how do we distinguish between protecting legitimate national security interests and suppressing political dissent or analysis? Where should the line be drawn? And who should have the power to draw it? The case of these Chinese people in Taiwan reveals a troubling hypocrisy in how freedom of speech is defended in international discourse. If we truly believe in freedom of expression as a universal value, we must be consistent in our defense of it. Even when the speech in question challenges our preferred political narratives, we should be honest about whether our concern for freedom of speech extends to all people or only to those whose views align with our geopolitical interest. Before I go, if you found this video informative, please don't forget to smash that like button and follow for more content like this. I encourage you to share your thoughts on this issue in the comment section below. All perspectives are welcome, whether you agree or disagree with my analysis. I only ask that you keep your comments respectful and engage with the ideas rather than attacking individuals, because we are not barbarians, unlike some others who would silence those they disagree with. This was your favorite half Chinese, and as always, have a great day.